Most people believe their identity is defined by what others see, their job, their reputation, their appearance, their public behavior. But the most powerful part of identity is not visible. It is practiced in private. Long before character is displayed publicly, it is rehearsed internally. Long before discipline is admired, it is chosen silently. Long before confidence is recognized, it is practiced alone. There is a version of you that exists when no one is watching. That version is not performing. It is not impressing. It is not managing perception. It is simply reacting. And those private reactions reveal far more about your future than your public intentions ever will. James Allen wrote that character is the complete sum of a person's thoughts, not their ambitions, not their declarations, not their potential, their thoughts. Because thought repeated becomes habit. Habit repeated becomes character, and character determines destiny. But here is where most people misunderstand this principle. They assume identity changes when circumstances change, when they get the new job, when they move to a new city, when they start over, when someone new enters their life. Yet the internal identity often remains untouched. The same private doubts, the same private excuses, the same internal narratives, the same emotional reflexes, different environment, same internal practice. And so the results eventually mirror the old pattern, because the unseen identity never shifted. You do not become confident by announcing confidence. You become confident by privately practicing courage in small, uncomfortable moments. You do not become disciplined by declaring discipline. You become disciplined by honoring commitments when no one would know if you broke them. You do not become calm because you wish to be calm. You become calm by interrupting your private reactions before they escalate. The identity you practice in private is the identity that will surface under pressure. Pressure does not create character. It reveals it. When stress rises, you do not rise to your goals. You fall to your conditioning. So the real question is not, who do you want to become? The real question is, who are you rehearsing daily when no one is watching? When you fail, what do you say to yourself? When you are criticized, how do you respond internally? When you are alone, what thoughts dominate your attention? Those moments are not insignificant. They are training sessions. And most people train the very traits they claim to dislike. They rehearse hesitation. They rehearse resentment. They rehearse blame. They rehearse self-doubt. Then they are surprised when those traits appear publicly. But identity is not built in front of an audience. It is built in repetition. Quiet repetition, private repetition, invisible repetition. The person you are becoming is shaped in those unseen moments, not in grand gestures, not in dramatic decisions, but in daily, silent rehearsal. And until that private practice shifts, the outer life will struggle to do the same. If identity is shaped in private, then the next question becomes unavoidable. How does that shaping actually happen? It happens through repetition of thought and emotional agreement. Every thought carries a suggestion. Every suggestion, when accepted repeatedly, becomes belief, and belief silently directs behavior. This is not mystical. It is neurological. The brain strengthens what it uses. If you repeatedly think, "I am behind," the brain begins scanning for evidence that confirms it. If you repeatedly think, "I always mess things up," your nervous system prepares for failure before action even begins. If you repeatedly replay past embarrassment, your body reacts as if it is happening again. The rehearsal is not imaginary. It is biological. You are training your nervous system with every repeated internal narrative. And here is the danger. The brain does not distinguish between deliberate rehearsal and accidental rumination. Both wire pathways. Both strengthen identity. Both reinforce expectation. So when someone says, "This is just how I am," what they often mean is, "This is what I have practiced most." Identity is rarely fixed. It is reinforced. If you rehearse irritation, you become quicker to irritate. If you rehearse patience, you increase your threshold before reacting. If you rehearse courage in small acts, you increase your tolerance for discomfort. Most people wait for large defining moments to change who they are. But identity shifts in micro moments, in the split second between impulse and reaction, in the quiet decision to pause instead of respond. in the subtle interruption of a negative thought before it expands. This is where identity bends. James Allen understood something profound. Circumstances do not shape the man as much as the man's reaction to circumstances shapes the man. And reaction is trained in private. If you privately justify anger, you publicly express anger. If you privately nurture discipline, you publicly demonstrate discipline. The public version of you is simply the amplified version of your private conditioning. So the real transformation is not dramatic, it is deliberate. It is not loud, it is consistent. The identity you practice is the identity you stabilize, and the identity you stabilize becomes the life you experience, because behavior follows belief. Belief follows repetition, and repetition follows attention. What you repeatedly give attention to becomes what you gradually become. This is why casual negative self-talk is not harmless, it is rehearsal. This is why unexamined resentment is not temporary, it is rehearsal. This is why small acts of integrity matter. They are rehearsal. You are always practicing something. The only question is, are you practicing the person you intend to be, or the one you are unconsciously reinforcing? If identity is shaped through rehearsal, then change does not begin with ambition, it begins with interruption. You do not need a new personality. You need a new pattern. The shift begins in moments so small they almost seem irrelevant. The next time you criticize yourself automatically, pause. The next time you feel the impulse to react sharply, pause. The next time you default to doubt, pause. That pause is not weakness, it is power. Because in that space between impulse and reaction, identity becomes flexible. Without awareness, you are carried by conditioning. With awareness, you begin to edit it. You do not erase years of rehearsal overnight, but you can choose what you rehearse next. Instead of rehearsing self-doubt, rehearse measured confidence. Instead of rehearsing irritation, rehearse composure. Instead of rehearsing blame, rehearse responsibility. Responsibility is not self-condemnation, it is self-direction. James Allen suggested that a man's outer world reflects his inner state, not because the world bends magically, but because behavior aligns with belief, and belief aligns with repetition. So if you want a different future, examine what you are privately reinforcing today. Do you rehearse excuses or ownership? Do you rehearse fear or forward motion? Do you rehearse past mistakes or disciplined correction? Small rehearsals compound. A calm response today strengthens the next calm response. A disciplined action today reduces resistance tomorrow. A courageous decision today weakens hesitation next week. This is how identity evolves. Quietly, incrementally, consistently. The person you admire is not fundamentally different from you. They have simply rehearsed different traits more consistently. Their calm is practiced. Their focus is practiced. Their discipline is practiced. So the path forward is not dramatic reinvention. It is intentional repetition. Train the mind toward steadiness. Train the reaction toward composure. Train the narrative toward strength. Over time, what once felt forced becomes natural. What once required effort becomes instinct. And what once felt impossible becomes identity. You are not trapped by who you have been, but you will remain shaped by what you continue to practice. So choose deliberately, rehearse intentionally, and remember, the identity you practice in private will always introduce itself in public. There is a reason most change fails. It is not lack of desire, it is lack of internal alignment. People attempt to change behavior without first examining what they are rehearsing privately. They try to act confident while privately practicing doubt. They try to act disciplined while privately nurturing excuses. They try to appear calm while privately fueling resentment. But public effort cannot permanently override private rehearsal. Eventually, the private identity wins. So real transformation requires honesty, not public honesty, private honesty. Ask yourself quietly, what identity am I strengthening daily? What narrative do I return to when no one is listening? What emotion do I revisit when I am alone? Because repetition is not neutral, it is directional. It moves you somewhere. If you rehearse limitation, you stabilize limitation. If you rehearse growth, you stabilize growth. This does not mean perfection. It means awareness. You will still feel doubt. You will still feel irritation. You will still experience fear. But instead of rehearsing those states repeatedly, you begin interrupting them. The interruption weakens the pattern. The new rehearsal strengthens a different one. Identity is not rewritten in one decision. It is rewritten in many small corrections. Each pause before reacting, each disciplined choice when tempted, each calm breath when triggered, each refusal to indulge in old narratives. Those are not small acts. They are identity adjustments. Over weeks and months, the adjustment compounds. You begin responding differently, then thinking differently, then expecting differently. And when expectation changes, behavior follows. When behavior changes, results follow. And when results change, confidence increases. Not forced confidence, earned confidence. Confidence built from repeated internal practice. So the future is not some distant event waiting to surprise you. It is forming quietly in your present rehearsal, right now, in this thought, in this reaction, in this decision. You are always practicing something. The only power you truly possess is the ability to choose what that practice will be. If you choose carefully, consistently, deliberately, the identity you practice in private will eventually become the life you experience in public. There is something liberating about this realization. You are not trapped by your past. You are trained by it, and training can be redirected. Every identity you currently carry was strengthened through repetition, not destiny, not fate. Repetition. That means nothing about you is accidental, but it also means nothing about you is fixed. If hesitation has been rehearsed, it can be replaced. If resentment has been rehearsed, it can be interrupted. If discipline has been weak, it can be strengthened. The same law applies in both directions. The mind does not resist consistency. It adapts to it. So the future version of you is not waiting somewhere ahead. It is being shaped in this moment. In the next thought you accept. In the next reaction you allow. In the next standard you tolerate. You may not control circumstances, but you always control rehearsal. And rehearsal determines readiness. When opportunity appears, it does not create identity. It reveals preparation. If you have rehearsed courage, you step forward. If you have rehearsed doubt, you hesitate. If you have rehearsed composure, you remain steady. If you have rehearsed blame, you deflect. Life does not surprise you with who you are. It exposes who you have practiced being. So instead of asking what the world will bring you, ask what you are bringing to the world through repetition. Are you strengthening clarity or confusion? Are you strengthening steadiness or volatility? Are you strengthening ownership or avoidance? These are not dramatic daily choices. They are subtle, almost invisible. But they accumulate, and accumulation builds identity. Identity builds action. Action builds outcome. And outcome builds the life you stand inside. This is why private rehearsal matters more than public performance. Performance is temporary. Practice is permanent. You may fool others for a moment. You cannot fool your conditioning. Whatever you rehearse repeatedly becomes your default, so choose deliberately. Interrupt carefully. Reinforce intentionally. Because the identity you practice in silence will one day speak loudly in your circumstances. And when that moment comes, you will not rise to your intentions. You will rise to your rehearsal.